It was a warm late summer afternoon in Maplewood, Ohio, the kind where the sunlight feels heavy and the cicadas hum in the background like an old familiar song. I was in the kitchen, slicing apples for a pie, when I heard the front door slam. My heart gave a little jump. My son, Ethan, never slammed doors unless something was wrong. "Ethan," I called out, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "Is everything okay?" No answer. I set the knife down and walked into the hallway. Ethan stood there, still in his high school soccer gear, his backpack hanging loosely off one shoulder. His face was pale, and there was something in his eyes, a mixture of fear and urgency. "Mom," his voice cracked. "I think someone's following me." That was the last thing I expected to hear. "Following you? From school?" He nodded quickly. "Not just from school. I think, since last week." I felt my pulse pick up. "Come to the kitchen," I said softly, my voice steady even though my stomach had dropped. We sat at the table. I reached across and held his hand. "Tell me everything. And start from the beginning." He took a deep breath. "Last Thursday, I stayed late for soccer practice. When I was walking home, I saw this same white van parked near the corner. The windows were tinted so I couldn't see who was inside. At first, I thought it was just some delivery guy, but then, I noticed it again the next day. And the day after that. Always the same van. Always parked where I could see it." I leaned back, processing his words. "Ethan, have you told anyone at school?" He shook his head. I didn't want to sound paranoid. But today, after practice, it was parked across the street. And when I started walking, it started rolling forward slowly. That's when I ran the rest of the way home. Something protective surged inside me. "Okay," I whispered, leaning forward so he could hear me clearly. "Stay calm, son. I'm right here. We're going to figure this out." That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house made me tense. I checked the locks twice, and even closed Ethan's bedroom door gently so he could rest without seeing the worry on my face. The next morning, I decided to drive him to school. I told myself it was just to make sure he was safe, but in truth, I wanted to see if that van was real. Sure enough, as we turned onto the main street, I spotted it. White. Old. No visible company logo. And it was pulling out from a side road just as we passed. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. "Ethan," I said quietly, "is that the one?" His voice was small. "Yeah, that's it." I didn't want to alarm him, so I kept driving as if nothing had happened. But inside, my mind was racing. Over the next few days, the pattern repeated. I saw the van twice more. Always distant, never close enough for me to get a license plate. By Saturday, I decided to take action. I called Detective Laura Bennett, an old friend from high school who now worked with the local police department in Columbus. When I explained, she didn't brush it off. "I've heard of something like this recently," she said. "It could be nothing, maybe just someone in the neighborhood, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Keep an eye out, and if you see it again, call me immediately." Sunday afternoon, Ethan wanted to go to the park to kick a ball around. I almost said no, but then I thought, maybe it's better if I'm with him. We walked together, the soccer ball tucked under his arm, and for a while it felt almost normal. The breeze, the sound of kids laughing, the smell of popcorn from the vendor near the playground. It was comforting. Until I saw it. Parked just beyond the basketball courts. Same white van. I could feel Ethan stiffen beside me. "It's okay," I whispered again, placing my hand gently on his shoulder. "Stay calm, son. Just keep walking." I pulled out my phone and, without looking too obvious, snapped a picture. Then I texted it to Laura. Within 10 minutes, an unmarked police car rolled into the parking lot. Laura stepped out, her badge hanging from her neck, her expression calm but serious. She walked over to us slowly. "I'm going to have a word with the driver," she said quietly. "You two just stay here." Ethan and I watched as she approached the van. The driver's side window rolled down, and though I couldn't hear the conversation, I saw Laura's face tighten. After a few minutes, she signaled for another officer to come over. The man inside, scruffy, wearing a baseball cap, stepped out. He looked uncomfortable. Laura came back to us later, her voice low. Turns out, he's been hanging around different neighborhoods for the past 2 weeks. Claims he's a freelance photographer, looking for nature shots. But he didn't have a camera in the car. We're taking him in for questioning. Ethan's shoulders sagged with relief. That night, as I tucked him in, he said, "Thanks for believing me, Mom." I brushed his hair back and smiled. Always. If something feels wrong, you tell me. No matter what. He nodded, and for the first time in a week, I saw him drift off to sleep without fear in his eyes. I lay awake for a while, thinking about how quickly the world could turn from ordinary to terrifying. But I also thought about something else, how sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is simple. Stay calm. I'm right here. Because sometimes, courage doesn't roar. Sometimes, it's just a whisper in the middle of a storm.